one untied shoelace, one expired EpiPen, one faulty door latch. That's all it took to turn ordinary moments into the 6 most disturbing ways normal people met their end. It was March 15th, 2017, in Denver, Colorado. Allison Greer, a 28-year-old marketing coordinator for a tech startup, was rushing through Westfield Shopping Center on what should have been an ordinary Tuesday evening. Known for her meticulous attention to detail at work, Allison had one quirk that friends often teased her about. She never properly tied her bright red Nike running shoes, leaving the laces dangerously long and loose. That evening, she was meeting her younger sister at the mall's jewelry store to help pick out an engagement ring. The mall was unusually crowded due to flash sales at multiple stores, creating heavy foot traffic throughout the building. Allison carried a large shopping bag from her earlier purchases, while constantly checking her phone for her sister's location updates. At 6:47 p.m., security cameras captured her approaching the up escalator near the food court. She was distracted, scrolling through text messages, completely unaware that her left shoelace was trailing behind her foot as she stepped onto the moving stairs. The escalator was an older 2003 model that had been recently serviced, but maintenance records showed 3 previous incidents where clothing had become caught in its worn comb plate mechanism. As Allison rode halfway up the escalator, disaster struck. Her loose shoelace threaded through the metal grating and became entangled in the comb plate mechanism at the top landing. The moving step continued upward with relentless force, yanking her left foot forward violently. She lost her balance immediately, her body twisting as she fell backward against the escalator's unforgiving metal side panel. The impact was devastating. Allison's temple struck the sharp edge of the escalator's housing with tremendous force, causing immediate disorientation and a severe concussion. The metallic clang echoed through the mall as panicked shoppers witnessed the horrifying accident unfold before their eyes. Blood began flowing from her ear within seconds, a telltale sign of serious traumatic brain injury. Though she remained conscious initially, Allison showed classic symptoms of severe head trauma: confusion, slurred speech, and unequal pupil dilation. Shoppers frantically searched for the emergency stop button, precious seconds ticking by before someone finally located and activated it. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes, finding Allison conscious but severely disoriented on the escalator steps. Paramedics immediately recognized the gravity of her condition, noting the blood from her ear and her altered mental status. She was rushed to Denver General Hospital, where CT scans revealed the worst possible outcome: massive brain hemorrhaging from the impact. Despite emergency surgery to relieve the dangerous intracranial pressure building in her skull, Allison's condition continued to deteriorate. The trauma had caused irreversible damage to her brain tissue, and the bleeding could not be controlled. At 11:45 p.m., just over 5 hours after what began as a simple shopping trip, Allison Greer was pronounced dead from complications of traumatic brain injury. The mall implemented new safety protocols immediately following the tragedy, and the aging escalator was replaced within 2 months. But for Allison's family and friends, no safety measure could undo the devastating loss. A brilliant marketing professional with her whole life ahead of her had been taken by something as simple as an untied shoelace and a moment of distraction. Her death serves as a chilling reminder of how quickly everyday activities can turn deadly, and how the smallest oversights can have the most catastrophic consequences in our modern world. The security footage of her final moments became evidence in subsequent safety investigations, forever capturing the split second when a routine evening turned into an unimaginable tragedy. It was September 8th, 2018 in Atlanta, Georgia. Brittany Lowe, a 31-year-old loan officer at First National Bank, was heading into work on what should have been a routine Saturday morning. Known for her professional demeanor and punctuality, Brittany always arrived at exactly 8:30 a.m., even on weekends. She had a severe bee allergy that required her to carry an EpiPen everywhere, though she had become complacent about checking its expiration date. That morning, Brittany was coming in for overtime work to process urgent loan applications before Monday's deadline. The building's weekend security staff was reduced to just one guard making rounds on the upper floors. She wore her typical business attire and had recently switched to a new floral-scented perfume that she loved, but didn't realize would prove deadly. The First National Bank building featured an ornate 1960s brass revolving door at its main entrance. The heavy panels had recently been serviced, but unknown to anyone, wasps had built a nest in the door's upper mechanism during the recent warm weather. The insects had been disturbed by the door's movement throughout the week, making them increasingly agitated. At 8:28 a.m., Brittany entered the revolving door while discussing a client's mortgage terms on her Bluetooth headset. Her new perfume's floral scent had attracted several wasps that began swarming around the confined space. Security footage shows her entering normally, completely unaware of the danger building around her. As she pushed the door panel forward, the agitated wasps began attacking. The revolving door's mechanism suddenly jammed due to debris from the disturbed nest, trapping Brittany in the small triangular compartment with no way to escape. Within seconds, she received multiple stings on her neck, face, and hands from at least 6 furious wasps. Her severe allergic reaction began immediately. Brittany's throat started swelling rapidly, and her breathing became increasingly labored. She dropped her phone and frantically searched through her purse for her EpiPen. But when she found it, she discovered to her horror that it had expired 3 months earlier. The confined space prevented her from escaping the continued wasp attacks as more insects emerged from their damaged nest. Her face and throat swelled dramatically as anaphylactic shock progressed with terrifying speed. The allergic reaction caused her larynx to close, cutting off her airway completely. She began making desperate choking sounds that were audible through the glass panels as she clawed at her swollen throat, unable to draw breath. Her skin turned blue from oxygen deprivation as the anaphylaxis reached its final stage. The wasps continued their relentless attack in the confined space, delivering more venom into her already overwhelmed system. After 4 agonizing minutes trapped in the revolving door, Brittany collapsed against the glass panel, unconscious from severe anaphylaxis and oxygen deprivation. The security guard discovered her at 8:45 a.m. during his routine lobby check, finding her unconscious and severely swollen beyond recognition. Emergency services used power tools to extract her from the jammed revolving door mechanism, while paramedics administered epinephrine and attempted to establish an airway. But the allergic reaction had progressed too far. She was rushed to Grady Memorial Hospital, where doctors fought desperately to save her life, but the damage was irreversible. At 9:28 a.m., Brittany Lowe was pronounced dead from anaphylactic shock caused by multiple wasp stings. The building immediately had the wasp nest professionally removed and replaced the revolving door with automatic sliding doors. A simple change in perfume and an expired EpiPen had cost Brittany her life in the most unexpected way possible. Her death highlighted the critical importance of maintaining emergency medications and being aware of hidden dangers in everyday environments. It was June 22, 2016 in Phoenix, Arizona. Cassandra Holt, a 26-year-old graphic designer for an advertising agency, was working late on the 12th floor of the Meridian office complex on what would become her final evening. Known for staying late to perfect her projects, Cassandra had recently started taking medication for anxiety that occasionally caused dizziness, especially when standing quickly. That Thursday evening, she was working alone on a campaign deadline while the building sat nearly empty, except for cleaning crews. Cassandra had been taking her prescribed anxiety medication, which sometimes made her feel lightheaded after sitting for extended periods. She had also purchased new high-heeled shoes earlier that day for an important client presentation scheduled for Friday morning. At 9:15 p.m., feeling restless after hours of computer work, Cassandra decided to take the stairs down to the parking garage to get some fresh air and stretch her legs. The Meridian complex featured a central stairwell with polished marble steps that looked elegant, but became treacherously slippery when wet. The building's cleaning crew had just finished mopping the stairwell floors, but hadn't yet placed wet floor warning signs. The stairwell lighting was dimmed to 50% capacity during evening hours as an energy-saving measure, creating shadows that made it difficult to see the wet surfaces clearly. Security cameras captured Cassandra entering the stairwell, moving quickly while checking messages on her phone, completely unaware of the danger beneath her feet. On the 8th floor landing, disaster struck without warning. Cassandra's new high heels slipped on the wet marble surface as she stepped down, causing her to lose her balance instantly. Her anxiety medication had made her slightly lightheaded, affecting her coordination at the worst possible moment. She fell backward violently, her head striking the concrete wall behind her with tremendous force. The impact caused an immediate severe concussion and disorientation as her body began tumbling down the unforgiving marble steps. Her body rolled down 15 steps to the 7th floor landing, with her head striking multiple step edges during the horrifying descent. Each impact caused additional trauma to her skull and brain, creating multiple contusions and internal bleeding. The marble steps showed no mercy as her body bounced against them repeatedly. Most critically, her neck twisted unnaturally during the fall, causing cervical spine fractures at the C2 and C3 vertebrae. The combination of severe head trauma and spinal injury caused immediate paralysis and loss of consciousness. Blood began pooling around her head from multiple scalp lacerations and dangerous internal brain bleeding. Her breathing became irregular and shallow due to the spinal cord damage affecting her respiratory system. Cassandra remained unconscious and motionless on the 7th floor landing, with no one nearby to hear her fall or call for help. The building's emptiness during evening hours meant that precious time passed before anyone would discover her. A cleaning crew member finally found her at 10:45 p.m. during routine floor checks. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but found her with no pulse and obvious signs of severe head and spinal trauma. The marble steps around her were stained with blood, telling the story of her tragic fall. She was pronounced dead at the scene from a traumatic brain injury and cervical spine fracture. The medical examiner determined the cause of death as blunt force trauma to the head with spinal cord transection, injuries that would have been instantly fatal. The building immediately implemented new safety protocols, including better lighting, non-slip surfaces, and mandatory wet floor signage. But for Cassandra's family and colleagues, no safety measure could bring back the talented designer whose promising career was cut short by a simple slip on wet stairs. It was November 14th, 2015 in Seattle, Washington. Megan Duarte, a 29-year-old marine biologist working at the Seattle Aquarium, was heading to work on what should have been a routine Saturday morning. Passionate about her research on Pacific Northwest sea life, Megan always parked in the same spot on the 4th level of Harbor View parking garage, space 4B-27, a habit she had maintained for 3 years. That rainy morning, she was responding to an emergency call about 6 sea otters at the aquarium. Megan had been fighting a cold and was taking antihistamines that made her drowsy and less alert than usual. The medication, combined with her dedication to her work, meant she often ignored her own discomfort to help the animals she cared for so deeply. The Harbor View parking garage's ventilation system had been malfunctioning for weeks, with several exhaust fans out of order. The concrete structure was notorious for trapping vehicle fumes, especially during Seattle's frequent rainy weather when windows stayed closed. Making matters worse, the garage's carbon monoxide detection system had been giving false alarms and was temporarily disabled for repairs. Megan arrived early at 7:45 a.m. when the garage was nearly empty, creating poor air circulation conditions. Her car had been having exhaust issues that she had been putting off repairing due to her busy work schedule and limited budget. She sat in her running car, organizing research notes for the emergency sea otter case, keeping her windows closed against the persistent rain. The garage's concrete walls and low ceiling created a perfect trap for exhaust fumes from the few running vehicles. Unknown to Megan, Her car's faulty exhaust system was leaking carbon monoxide directly into the vehicle's cabin through a corroded seal near the muffler. As she organized her papers with the engine running, the colorless and odorless carbon monoxide began accumulating in dangerous concentrations. The antihistamines she had taken masked the early warning symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning, including the mild headache and nausea that might have alerted her to the danger. Within 5 minutes, the deadly gas reached critical levels in her bloodstream, displacing oxygen and affecting her brain function. She began feeling increasingly drowsy and confused, symptoms she attributed to her cold medication in the early morning hour. Her coordination became impaired as carbon monoxide prevented her blood from carrying adequate oxygen to her vital organs. Megan attempted to start driving but felt too dizzy and disoriented. Deciding to rest for a few more minutes, she leaned back in her seat, unaware that she was sealing her fate. The carbon monoxide continued building in her system at an alarming rate, causing her to lose consciousness while still behind the wheel. Her breathing became shallow and irregular, as the poisonous gas systematically shut down her body's ability to transport oxygen. After 15 minutes of exposure to the concentrated fumes, she slipped into a coma from severe carbon monoxide poisoning, her body unable to fight the invisible killer. Another garage user discovered her unconscious in her running car at 8:30 a.m. and immediately called emergency services. Paramedics detected dangerous levels of carbon monoxide in the garage air and quickly evacuated the area while attempting to revive her. She was rushed to Harborview Medical Center, where doctors placed her in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber, the most aggressive treatment available for carbon monoxide poisoning. Despite their best efforts and cutting-edge medical intervention, the damage was too extensive. At 2:15 p.m., Megan Duarte was pronounced dead from carbon monoxide poisoning and resulting irreversible brain damage. The garage was immediately closed for emergency ventilation repairs and installation of new carbon monoxide detection systems. Megan's death served as a tragic reminder of how silent killers can lurk in everyday places, taking the lives of those dedicated to saving others. It was August 3, 2019, in Miami, Florida. Laura Pennington, a 24-year-old personal trainer at Pinnacle Fitness Center, was arriving for what should have been an exciting Saturday morning. Known for her high-energy classes and dedication to client safety, Laura was thrilled about launching a new kickboxing class she had been developing for months. However, Laura had been working extra hours all week and running on only 4 hours of sleep. To combat insomnia, she had been taking prescription sleep aids that affected her reaction time and spatial awareness, leaving her feeling groggy and less coordinated than usual. That morning, she arrived early at 6:30 a.m. to set up equipment, carrying her gym bag, water bottle, and workout plans. The fitness center had recently installed new automatic sliding doors with powerful motors designed for heavy commercial traffic. The doors' safety sensors had been malfunctioning intermittently, sometimes failing to detect people in the doorway. Maintenance had been postponed due to the gym's busy schedule. The heavy glass panels closed with approximately 300 pounds of force to seal against Miami's humid climate. As Laura approached while reviewing her class notes, she wasn't paying attention to her surroundings. The sleep medication had dulled her alertness, and excitement about her new class had her focused on paperwork rather than potential danger. Security cameras captured the tragic sequence. The automatic door opened as Laura approached, sensors initially detecting her presence. However, as she stepped into the doorway, the malfunctioning system lost track of her position and triggered the doors to close unexpectedly. Laura was caught directly in the center, as both heavy glass panels compressed against her torso with tremendous force. The impact immediately fractured several ribs and compressed her chest cavity, making breathing extremely difficult. She dropped her materials and desperately tried pushing against the doors, but the system continued applying crushing pressure. The door's safety mechanism failed to reverse when encountering resistance, trapping her in its deadly grip. Her fractured ribs punctured her left lung, causing it to collapse and fill with blood. The chest compression made it impossible to draw a breath or call for help. Laura's screams were muffled as relentless pressure prevented chest expansion. Blood appeared at her mouth as internal bleeding progressed rapidly. The powerful motors continued their cycle, unaware of the human life being crushed between the panels. After 45 agonizing seconds, a backup safety system activated, causing the doors to reverse. But the damage was done. Laura collapsed in the doorway, her chest severely compromised and breathing labored. The gym's manager arrived at 6:45 a.m., finding Laura barely conscious. Paramedics arrived within 6 minutes, but found her in severe respiratory distress with obvious chest trauma. She was rushed to Jackson Memorial Hospital, where emergency surgery revealed massive internal trauma, including tension pneumothorax and internal hemorrhaging. At 8:20 a.m., Laura Pennington died from crushing chest injuries, just 2 hours after arriving to teach her anticipated class. The fitness center immediately replaced the door system and implemented safety reviews industry-wide. Laura's death highlighted the deadly potential of malfunctioning automated systems and the critical importance of regular safety maintenance in commercial facilities. Her tragic end served as a wake-up call for businesses everywhere about the hidden dangers of everyday technology. It was April 17th, 2018 in Portland, Oregon. Catherine Voss, a 33-year-old real estate agent known for keeping her car immaculate for client meetings, was following her usual Tuesday morning routine. She washed her car twice weekly at Quick Clean Auto Wash, considering it her good luck ritual before her weekly team meeting. That morning, Catherine was running late for an important listing presentation and decided to quickly clean her car. She had recently injured her shoulder in a tennis match, leaving her with limited mobility in her left arm and making simple tasks more challenging. Quick Clean Auto Wash featured an older conveyor system with exposed mechanical components and minimal safety guards. The facility had been experiencing mechanical issues with the conveyor system jerking unexpectedly, but management had delayed repairs to avoid closing during busy periods. Catherine's car had a persistent problem. The driver's side door had a faulty latch that occasionally popped open. Like many busy professionals, she had postponed the repair, not realizing how dangerous this minor issue would become. She entered the wash bay at 8:15 a.m., following instructions to put her car in neutral and remain inside throughout the cycle. The attendant was handling another customer's complaint, leaving the system temporarily unmonitored. The conveyor engaged smoothly, pulling her car forward as soap and water began spraying. However, as her vehicle moved through the cycle, the faulty door latch gave way under vibration, causing the driver's side door to swing open unexpectedly. Catherine instinctively reached out with her injured arm to grab the door handle, not wanting soap to flood her interior. As she leaned out, her sleeve became entangled in the conveyor system's exposed drive mechanism. The powerful motor continued operating, drawing her clothing and arm into the mechanical assembly with tremendous force. Her shoulder dislocated immediately as the mechanism pulled relentlessly, causing excruciating pain that echoed through the wash bay. The rotating gears crushed her forearm against the metal housing, fracturing both radius and ulnar bones with audible snapping. Most critically, the machinery severed major blood vessels, including radial and ulnar arteries, causing massive bleeding that pooled on concrete. Catherine's screams went unheard due to machinery noise and water spray, but customers eventually noticed the emergency. Blood loss from severed arteries caused rapid shock and unconsciousness as her body entered hypovolemic crisis. The emergency stop was activated after 90 seconds, but severe arterial damage had occurred. Customers and staff worked frantically using the manual release system to free her from the machinery. Emergency responders arrived within 8 minutes, finding her unconscious from severe blood loss. Paramedics applied tourniquets and pressure bandages while establishing IV access, but she had lost critical amounts of blood from the arterial injuries. She was airlifted to Oregon Health and Science University Hospital, where trauma surgeons attempted emergency surgery to repair the damaged vessels. Despite multiple blood transfusions and aggressive resuscitation efforts, the blood loss was too severe to overcome. At 11:30 a.m., Catherine Voss was pronounced dead from exsanguination and hypovolemic shock caused by traumatic arterial injuries. The car wash was immediately shut down, pending a comprehensive safety investigation and a complete equipment overhaul, highlighting the hidden dangers of aging industrial equipment in everyday commercial facilities. Her tragic death led to new industry safety standards, requiring emergency stops within arm's reach and protective barriers around all moving machinery in automated car wash facilities nationwide. If these horrifying accidents left you stunned, brace yourself for what's next. Click the video on your screen for more chilling stories of everyday moments turned deadly.